Hello my gorgeous makeup loving friends, I hope you're having a fantastic day and a great start to your weekend. My name is Teresa and I love all things makeup, beauty and skincare, so on the weekends I like to hang out with you guys and talk about the newest releases in that category. In saying that though, there are a lot of releases, but to try to pare back on that, I try to just talk about the stuff that's semi-interesting and or relevant. But to do that, you guys let me know what you want me to talk about. So a massive thank you to everyone who has DM'd me, tagged me, sent me emails about things to talk about. Your names are being displayed right now. I super appreciate it. A massive thank you as well to my YouTube community members. I owe you guys a live very, very soon. I've been a little bit MIA recently because honestly, I'm still quite burnt out. It's the whole thing, and obviously my acne is still on my face, which is probably a good thing. It's not migrating, it's localized at this point. But this is the point where I try to remind you guys to stay hydrated, and I have my really cute Winnie the Pooh mug which I have been using all day because I am too lazy to go and wash new things. So get yourself a beverage, get yourself some snacks, and we'll head straight on into it. The first thing that I'm going to talk about isn't so much a new release as it is just a general announcement. This was over on I Feel Beautiful Canada's Instagram, and they basically said that they're halting shipping to the US after April 24th. So as you're watching, sorry, I'm a bit late on that, but it does mean that you won't be able to get anything from them. In case you're wondering what that's all about and you've somehow been living under a rock, I hate to tell you, but there's a person and they've done some questionable economic decisions, and basically tariffs, who'd have thought it, not the best idea when it comes to the global economy. Basically they've given a whole explanation there. I'm going to show it to you guys now, but it's just is not financially viable, and there's so much confusion and backwards and forwards, and like I'm obviously watching this from Ireland being like, what's happening? Are there tariffs? Are there not tariffs? It's extremely confusing, and I feel so badly for any brands who are in business. And obviously I Feel Beautiful, we're saying that a lot of the stuff that they would stock comes from China, and China having the ridiculous tariff of 124%, and that's what it was the last time I looked. I'm afraid to look, frankly. Yeah, they're basically like, it's not viable, it doesn't really make sense, we're not going to continue. This is affecting so many brands. I talked about Kryptine Cosmetics last week being one that said that this was going to happen, and I was like, yeah, this is going to start essentially a domino effect. And unfortunately, it seems that I was right. So I'm afraid for my lovely US friends, you won't be able to get stuff off I Feel Beautiful Canada anymore, which is a massive shame because they're apparently a fantastic company. I haven't worked with them or whatever, but my gorgeous friend Wilma Fingerdo has bought stuff from them and reckons they're superb. So it's a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. The first release that we're going to talk about, oh my god, I'm annoyingly excited about this. This is Cheeryep and their Luminous Jade all-in-one palette, and it's over on C Beauty Mall, and it's cheaper in C Beauty Mall than it is over on Look Healthy. So on C Beauty Mall it's €53.95. You know I'm an affiliate with them. You can use my code, it'll get you money off. It's just Teresa, blah blah blah. But it's essentially €54 there, but over on Look Healthy store it's €59. So it is a little bit cheaper over on C Beauty Mall, etc. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this because it's the same sort of thing that we saw with their collaboration with Freya, which by the way I have, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. And what I suspect they're going to do with this is obviously they have their refillable shades, which by the way I love. This slots into a palette, so if you like specific shades you could just go and repurchase them if you're hitting pan. I love this. Anyway, there's 10 innovative textures apparently. They say unlock multi-dimensional finishes. There's duochrome color shifting pigments, creamy highlighters, velvety lip mods, glossy lips, and versatile multi-use creams. And that's kind of like across the brand. You can kind of mix and match and do whatever you want. That's part of what the Freya palette was all about, which again, have it, love it, it's gorgeous. They say that there's 6 signature effects from sheer translucent color to diamond, glitter, and satin, which is very interesting. Now they've over on C Beauty Mall actually said here are the star shades and effects. There's G822, which is Dawn Blush, a peachy pink chameleon eyeshadow with gold charismatic shifts like morning sunrise. There's G826 Moonlit Wave, a cool champagne bouncy highlighter mimicking moonlit water. G823 Sakura Shard, a cherry blossom pink green gold duochrome reminiscent of crushed sakura. And G827 Nebula Beam, a violet gold polarized highlighter for glow. And oh my god, they are so beautiful. I went over to Look Healthy store because I'll be honest with you, they do better swatches over there. I'm sorry, they just do. And when you see them, oh my goodness, I hate myself. I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, mentally, I know I do not need this. I know I don't. Like, who needs this in their life? But anything I've got from Cheeryep, which also goes by Quinyan, Q-I-A-N-Y-A-N, oh my god, the quality is phenomenal. So I'm looking at this and there's like creamy products in here. So I'm looking at it kind of going, ooh, there's a little bit of a multi-use in here. And with my dry, acne prone, aging skin, well actually all skin is aging, so you know, sorry if you think that you don't adhere to that category. You all do. Unless you're Benjamin Buttoning it, in which case, fair enough. I hope science studies you. But I love these sort of formulas. I just think they're super interesting. And looking at them swatched out like that, I mean, they're beautiful. Right. I'm looking at those and kind of going, okay, you could make these very like sheared out, translucent, just like, oh, what is that on your eye? But you could also, depending upon the base, make yourself look like a gorgeous shimmery goddess or god, or some sort of a benevolent overlord, whichever one it is that you want. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, I see the vision, I see where you're going, and I like it. I'm very excited about this. I do get somewhat sold on things like finger swatches because I feel like you can see a lot of the textures, etc. there, and I can see kind of the shifts really well there. €54. Yes, it is expensive. Let's not sit here and be like, oh, it's so affordable. It's not, right? We're talking about £9 here. That's what's at play here. There's 9 pans for €54, so it's working out as €6 per pan. It's pricey, but you're getting the palette in there as well. I don't hate it. I don't. I wish I could sit here and be like, you don't. Right, mentally, sorry, I'm trying to like work on myself. It's really annoying. I'm trying to be a better person. Right, I know I don't need this. Right? I know I don't, right? I have more makeup than any one person could ever use in several lifetimes. So, you know, this would just be me smoking it, getting this ridiculous makeup hoard for some sort of a zombie, The Last of Us sort of situation, which that's what The Last of Us is really missing. It's just a lot of highlighter, frankly. So what I'm essentially trying to say in a very roundabout way is, I know I don't need this, but this is a sheer want, like in the depths of my soul. And there's something about C Beauty that is just really doing it for me these days. And I think this is where I was, oh my goodness, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when it came to indie beauty, but I was like, they're doing stuff that, you know, the mainstream brands aren't doing. And that's true and still is true. But I feel like the C Beauty stuff is kind of doing stuff that even the indie brands aren't doing. So I'm looking at that kind of going, oh, that's new, that's interesting, that's innovative. I'm not saying I don't still love indie brands. I obviously adore indie brands, but I'm looking at C Beauty and I'm just seeing a lot of really interesting innovations. Any of the stuff I've gotten from them, like even in terms of the mattes, the blendability, the loveliness, like obviously this is cream products, right? This is a cream product. I'm not getting confused here. I know there are cream products, but anything I've tried, I don't think there's been anything that I've gotten from C Beauty or from a C Beauty brand that I've thought, maybe not, you know? Like, and this is so ethereal and fairyish, and I can't, like, it's heading into the summer, and maybe I've convinced myself that I'm a person that I'm not, but I'm like, could I maybe be a sprite? Could I be a wood nymph? Could I be something magical and mystical? Probably not, but this is convincing me that I might. Do you know what? I hate myself. I do want this. I do want this. I may have to think about this, but also, do I really need to think about, I think I will get this. I think I will. I hate myself. But the part of me really loves this because, you know, it's like the classic build your own palette, right? You can mix and match these things and take stuff out. I could put stuff from this and from the Cheeryep Freya palette that I got before and mix and match across that. I've convinced myself it's happening. I'm really excited about this. I don't hate the palette price. I think it's actually pretty good. So yeah, quite excited. The next one is another C Beauty brand, but this isn't over on C Beauty Mall. It's only available over on Look Healthy store. This is MuWen, and they have two palettes on offer. There's the Dead Leaf Butterfly 9 colour Chameleon palette, which is €49.42. It has one Chameleon Pearlescent, one Chameleon Holographic, one mixed colour Diamond Glitter, and then there's 6 mattes. They also then have their Untainted by World 9 colour matte eyeshadow palette, which is obviously considerably cheaper. It's €32.65. I want to talk about the Chameleon palette, which is the Dead Leaf Butterfly one. Oh my goodness, that is really pretty. Right, it's obviously those interesting shades in the middle that's got me, because if I look at those mattes, there's nothing that kind of jumps out at me. In fact, of the 2 mattes that are there, I think there's 2 mattes that are a little bit too close to each other. Yes, one is a little bit deeper. I don't think that the 2 were necessary, but my goodness, those shimmers. Like, am I insane? Yeah, I am insane. I know I'm insane, but like, you know, that ship sailed a very long time ago. I do find it really interesting that the way that they're selling that over on Look Healthy store is very much like, look at the shimmery shades. My experience, as I said, of C Beauty is usually the mattes are really bloody blendable. And I'm kind of intrigued by that yellow because it's hard to get a decent yellow. It's just, I don't know what it is. It seems to be very, very difficult. But those colours are super, super interesting. And those, the holographic-iness. Would I spend €49 on a £9 palette? I would. I mean, I literally just talked about the Cheeryep and that's €54 for £9. So like, yeah, this is €5 cheaper, but it only has 3 special shades and then 6 mattes. But in saying that, a good matte is a good matte. And those, I feel like, you know, those are very like usable everyday mattes. They're day walker mattes. Sorry, I will always reference Wilma whenever that comes up, but that's the main thing that I think about, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think this could be really good for people who are a little bit intimidated by this kind of thing and they're kind of like, oh, I want to kind of smash this on. I'm more interested in getting those 3 as like singles than I would as a palette per se, because like I feel like the mattes and the rest of that somewhat let it down, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm just talking absolute nonsense, but I don't dislike it. In fact, it's the swatches that really got me kind of going, ooh, of those 3 shades. And I think that's what's going to sell it. But do you know what? It's the mattes from the all matte palette that I'm actually a smidgen more interested in, because this is really interesting and cool toned. I know not everyone's into cool toned, it just is what it is. That being said, there's something about this that how do I say this? It does make me think of old school makeup revolution. I don't mean this in necessarily a bad way. It's just feels very like dialed back. Again, not a bad thing. €32 for a £9 palette, so I don't hate it. I do feel like some of the shades are a little bit close tonally to each other, so maybe it's a smidgen redundant. It could have maybe just been dialed back to being a £6 palette. That being said, I like that there's a white, I like that there's a black. I love a white and a black matte. I've said this I don't know how many times, but I feel like that is really, really helpful in a palette. But I like those grey tones. I think it's possibly because we don't have as many grey toned palettes on the market as I might necessarily like, which frankly I have an issue, I know that, but that deep navy blue is really interesting, and then that sagey green is lovely. I will say there's that kind of deep grey in there and it doesn't look like it's fully matte. There's almost like a satinness to it, at least when it's swatched out, so I'm kind of intrigued by that. I like the look of this. Like I said, I actually, maybe I'm a bit insane, but I would kind of prefer this palette, and I'd take out maybe 3 of the mattes, like maybe that very pale grey on the bottom swatch, you know, the second from the bottom, and then actually, do you know what, 2nd from the bottom, and then 3rd from the bottom, and 4th from the bottom. I know, I'm being, phew, boom, you're gone. You 3 are gone. And then have the remaining 6 mattes and then put in the 3 really interesting shimmers from the previous palette. Am I insane? Is that Frankensteining it possibly? Would they necessarily go with each other? I actually think they could. Maybe I'm losing my mind, but I think they could actually be super, super interesting together. So I feel like the two of those palettes each have their own potential, but they're not fully realized. You know, they're not as coherent as I personally would like them to be. That being said, I know that somebody else is going to look at these and be like, oh my God, they're gorgeous. What are you talking about? You mad bee. In which case, you know what? You're absolutely right. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just talk nonsense. We all have different opinions and it's totally fine. But you know what? I like this. I don't dislike it. And the swatches of those mattes are also giving me some information that was missing from the previous palette, that's letting me know that actually their mattes seem to be like pretty pigmented. Again, it's a pale arm, so I don't know how this would translate on deeper skin tones. I'm gonna have to like reserve judgment on that. But it is interesting to me. I do like that. And like I said, C beauty brands just seem to be super interesting to me these days. So at the moment, I'm not going to get this. I can't see me getting this. But I'm going to be keeping a little eye out over for MuWen. I'm hoping it might come to C Beauty Mall because I have experience obviously purchasing from them and I trust them. So I don't hate this. I quite like the idea of it, but it just doesn't completely get my heart going. The next thing then we have is NYX Cosmetics, and I found this over on Point Click Vibes. Mwah, they are fantastic. Check out their Instagram. This is the Buttermelt highlighter shade. Now I talked about their highlighters I'd say maybe 6 weeks ago. It's hard to keep up with them, but they've already extended the line by adding one additional shade, and this is the Butta in Black. It's going to be $12. It's light reflecting, shimmery pigments. It illuminates the complexion and creates a vibrant finish wherever you apply it. But this is quite an interesting one because it's very, very deep and dark. Now obviously this is not going to work well, I think, on my sort of a complexion, or at least I don't think it would, not without it looking really bruisey. Maybe on deeper skin it might look quite interesting. I think this is a good sign. You know, their Buttermelt collection has been super, super popular. I mean, they've got their Buttermelt blushes, their Buttermelt bronzers. I was going to say blonzers, oh my god, who was it that did blonzers? I want to say Bare Minerals, but they've got their Buttermelt blushes, bronzers, the highlighters. I think it's a very safe chain for them at this point. And you know what? Having something affordable, I don't hate it. You know, $12. It's not over on their website at the moment. So like I said, everything that I'm taking is from Point Click Vibes' own Instagram. This apparently has shea butter, mango butter and almond butter. So it's the same as the previous ones, like that same kind of moisturizing effect, which I personally quite like the sound of. Today, all that I have from them is the Buttermelt bronzer and a Buttermelt blush. A singular blush and a singular bronzer, because I'm trying to not lose my mind. I know I still consume far more than I should, but I'm trying to kind of hold myself back. And I will say, I personally like the formula. Now, I don't have a lot of texture up here, where obviously you would normally hold your blusher, etc. But I don't have a lot of texture up along here either for highlighter. I really appreciate the fact that they're showing it without makeup retouching. Love that in a brand. I will say I'm not so sure who this is necessarily going to work for, but you know what? Somebody's going to love it. I can see this doing really, really well with more like gothic subcultures or like the alternative scene. I can see this being quite interesting. I love that particularly on the deeper model you can really see that sort of a green shift, which shows there's like almost a multi-chromeness to it, which is super unusual. And for $12, I don't feel like any of us can get particularly annoyed about that. So you know what, I don't think it's bad, but I'm a bit confused as to why just 6 weeks later that's when we're getting like a sniff of a new one. And again, like I said, it's not over on their website right now. We have no exact release date, but it just is like, why so soon after your initial highlighter launch are you already extending? Like, maybe they could have waited like 3 months, 4 months until they expanded. Maybe I'm just being a bit whatever, but like, was this just a late edition? You know, it missed the bus initially. I don't think it's a bad one. I personally wouldn't get it simply because I don't think it would work with my personal colouring. But you know what? It's more options for people. So why not? Colourpop are of course adding to their line because every so often we do have to have a Colourpop launch that we're talking about, and this is their Tangled collaboration. And you know what? When they initially sneak peeked this and it was a sort of like a paint pad easily thing, I was like, I knew exactly what this was without them saying. And I actually feel like this is not done badly. Like, I get it. When they were showing that sort of like kind of paint palette initially, the first thing that I thought of was Glam Light circa 2017, 2018, which is like, wow, quite the callback. Anyways, this is available right now. There's a lot in this. You can get the full collection, by the way, for $99, which includes the eyeshadow palette, which you can get for $22, the Pascal hair clip for $10, the Glitterally Obsessed for $10, the liquid highlights, there's 2 shades, they're $14 each, the ultra glossy lips, there's 3 shades, they're $10 each, or the mini hairbrush, which is $12. So let's just get straight into the eyeshadow palette. I feel like this color story is exactly what you would expect for Tangled. It's almost like they just took a screen grab of Rapunzel herself and just did like a color match and kind of went, okay, there's the yellow from her hair, there's the gold from her hair, there's the purple from her dress, there's the deep purple from her dress, here's a white, here's a deep brown, boom, boom, boom. Like, it's really kind of obvious, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, I get it. I look at this palette and I 100% understand where the inspiration is. The shade names make a lot of sense. I love that there's a shade in there for Max the horse, which is the best horse in the entire world. Love that there's a shade in there called the Smolder for Flynn Rider. He's such a good character. It's pretty. It's not a bad palette. I don't personally want and or need it, but I don't think it's bad. And for $22, again, not bad at all. The general thing that I notice with Colourpop is their swatches just look a little bit computer generated. I'm not saying that they definitely are, but they do look a little bit computer generated. And the second thing is I generally find that Colourpop palettes tend to be very leaning towards a paler skin tone, and they don't really have the depth needed for people of a deeper skin tone, which I personally don't understand why they do that. That's such a bad business plan. And yes, in the swatches it looks like it goes to a decent level of depth, but swatches I've seen of people like doing videos online, they don't look like they go to that level of depth. So I will always question mark Colourpop on that. I just feel like it's fine. It makes sense. It's grand, but it's just not for me, and it's been a long time since Colourpop have excited me. It's grand. I'm not into it. Then they also have their liquid highlighter. They have Mother Gothel and I See the Light. And I See the Light seems to have a little bit of a more duochrome aspect to it. Again, it was kind of hard to find any shades on the face, you know, that were distinguishing one from the other. They're grand. Maybe I'll have found them in the interim. There's nothing about this that makes me kind of go, oh yeah, I like this. They've spent a lot of time obviously on the packaging and that looks super, super cute, but liquid highlighters just don't really do much for me. I think they're more for younger people, but the price tag obviously of that, it's not bad at all. Like, it's $14 each, so you know, to each their own. The lip glosses then, you can obviously buy them in a bundle, you can get them singularly, and you know what? They're not bad at all. You can actually see on the lip which one is which. Like, obviously the one at the top right is the pinky one, the one in the middle is the green one, and the one at the bottom right hand corner is the brown one. Like, you can tell by just a quick eyeball as to how distinguished each of them are, and you know what they're referencing. The green is obviously Pascal, which is the little chameleon thing. I like these. Like, I don't think they're bad at all. I'm just not into lip glosses at the moment. It just is what it is. The Glitterally Obsessed, I will say, maybe I'm a bit whatever, but I love their Glitterally Obsessed. I think that they're some of the best products that they have. I feel like they don't necessarily market them in the best way. Like, even the way they've swatched them, I'm kind of like, is that how that's going to look? Because surely there's going to be bigger chunks of glitter. I love how they're like, don't put that on the eye, and I'm like, I will absolutely blind myself for glitter because I'm stupid. This is called Floating Lights, which obviously makes a lot of sense, and I actually actually see where that colour comes from. Like, it makes sense. Like, I can see it from the film. I'm like, okay, perfect little tie-in. That's fabulous. So you know what? It's not bad. And then obviously they have to have some hair accessories, which actually in this instance 100% makes sense. The little Pascal hair clip. Oh my frigging god. I love it. I think it's so cute. I hate myself for loving it that much. I also have shit hair, really thin hair. So it's not like hair clips are really required for me, but I think that's adorable. I love that. I think it's adorable. The little hairbrush thing, etc. It's not bad. It's grand for traveling. I personally wouldn't use it, and my friend Daniela, I know that would never work on her hair because she has gorgeous thick hair, and frankly, there's not a hairbrush that she has met that can really withstand her gorgeous lustrous locks. So I'm kind of like, you know, if you really did have thick hair, probably that hairbrush ain't gonna do it. It's just funny when it's like, you know, that the hero of the story is meant to have long, thick hair, but then the hairbrush is not really made for a person with that. Like, that would be fine for somebody with my thin hair, but other than that, not so much. In all, I don't think it's a bad collection. Like, I'm not sitting here being like, oh my god, it's trash or shit or whatever. I do feel there's a couple of, well, not that much, but there's a few things that could have probably been changed. Firstly, I don't think the highlighters were necessary. I particularly think a liquid highlighter was not necessary. Maybe like a powder highlighter or a cream, like a Super Shock highlighter, might have worked a little bit better, but I think a liquid highlighter, totally unnecessary. The eyeshadow palette, I think, is okay. I just question mark, you know, the depth, etc. It's grand. For $22, I don't hate it. The lip glosses are grand. I think maybe a little bit, you know, pricey for what they are, you know, like those lip glosses, they're $10 each. I know $10 doesn't seem like it's a lot, but in my mind, I'm like, I could go to Glass and Cosmetics and I could get some really cool duochrome ones for just a few euro extra. So, you know, maybe. Do you know what's really weird for me? I think it's the hair clip that really does it for me. And that's so bizarre to me. It's grand. The collection is fine. It's fun. Am I going to remember it in a couple of months' time? Heh. Like, if I see it, I'll go, oh yeah, it was this. But it's not going to keep me up at night kind of going, God, I really want this. Like, even the hair clip, I'm like, oh, that's super cute. But I'm not like, oh my God, I must place an order in for this. Because obviously Colourpop is a US brand. I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna pay the tariffs. I'm just not. I'm not. I don't want to. I think this is grand. It's fine. I think they could have probably just gotten rid of those highlighters. The Glitterly Obsessed is probably the strongest bits. Don't think they necessarily needed the lip glosses. The hairbrush thing, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna do a hairbrush for a heroine that has thick long hair, don't have it be a little shitty thing. Like, it needs to be a good robust one. Don't do it. Just don't. Like, leave that to like professional hair brands if they're gonna do that. You could have done more hair accessories than that. Like, she has like a scene where she puts like a load of flowers in her hair. Why not do cute little flower things that, you know, you could put into your hair? Why not that? You know, it's grand. I obviously won't be getting any of it. It's just not for me. And that's okay. This one I'm really interested in. This is Dede Signature. You guys know I've talked about this brand before. I even have a few things from them. Most notably the collaboration that they had with Makeup on Your Radar, who by the way also has a code with them. I believe it's Radar 10, which will get you money off if you're interested. This is their Drops of Fantasy, where colour meets creativity and every drop tells a story. Right. The shades Excitement, which is a lime matte, which does remind me a little bit of like this sort of like a lime vibrant chartreuse that's in the Makeup on Your Radar collab. Oh, that is gorgeous. There's Pop-tastic Vibes, which is an intense multi-chrome shimmer, Fizz and Fly, a duochrome shimmer, Sphere of Fun, which is a crimson sparkle, Floatin' Magic, a pastel multi-chrome holographic shimmer, and Beads, which is a deep sapphire matte, which I think is just beautiful. Again, reminds me a little bit of some of the stuff from the Makeup on Your Radar collab, just the sapphire matte. Oh, this is really nice. It's $48.99. The 24-hour pre-sale is happening April 25th. So as you're watching, soz, it's already happened. It is what it is. But it is launching May 2nd, so you don't have to wait that long for it. You know what? I think this is absolutely stunning. Look at the vibrancy of those shades. Like, those mattes, they're beautiful. I mean, my major issue really is that some of those shades are gonna, there's not really any blendy outy shades that are light enough for me, but that's fine. That's what other palettes are for. Like, I get that a lot of people like to have a one and done palette, but you know what? There's options. It's grand. That doesn't have to be a make or a break for something. And I feel like to have all of those things, you know, your multi-chromes, your duochromes, some holographics, etc. in there for under $50. That is not bad. That lime green. You know what? I think the thing that is closest to that is probably from the Be Perfect Stacey Marie palette. And even then, that looks a little bit more, I wouldn't call it a lime green. I'd call it more a radioactive green. Like, that looks like that would take years off of my life in the best way. It reminds me of, and I'm going to show my age here. For those of you who remember the PlayStation in its first iteration, like the proper, like big chunky one, not when they made it a mini, the big chunky one. When that came out, I was obsessed with Crash Bandicoot. And there's a level on the third island where you have to jump over these nitrous barrels, etc. Actually, it reminds me of the nitrous boxes. I don't even know what they were called. I think that's what we just called them as kids, but they were the green boxes. It reminds me of that, and I love it. Partly because it reminds me of childhood. There's a vibrancy to this that makes me think of sweets or candy, as the Americans would call it. I like this. I do. I feel like there's a couple of shades here, particularly those matte blues that I can get from the Makeup on Your Radar collab with them. And maybe one or two of the pinky shades as well. Not saying I could 100% dupe it, but I'm like, this is more me just trying to talk myself out of it, because again, I believe this is an American brand. So it's just, it's not that it's verboten for me, but with the tariffs, I just can't with that. A fantastic option if you are in America, because I do like their formula. I think they're a really, really good brand. This is beautiful. Like, the vibrancy of those swatches. It just reminds me of, like, again, old school indie. Like, when you get it, like, really excited about a brand. Like, this looks fun. The depth of that dark green, that is beautiful. It is. It's gorgeous. I'm just trying to remind myself that I don't need things like this, but it is stunning. Like, it absolutely is. Yeah. They also have like a couple of lip kits that are out at the moment. I didn't pop them in because I was like, I wasn't as interested in them. But you know what? I think this is fabulous. And I love the kind of ratio of mattes to kind of the shimmery shades, and the fact that there's those really like nice cohesive color columns. Personally, I'd have switched just over on the right hand side. There's a dark green Mirage, and I'd have switched that with the shade Droplet, because it's almost exactly color columns. That's just my slight, like, you're just a smidgen off, but like, I'm just being a super pedantic. But you know what? what, it's beautiful. I just can't get it at the moment. We then have Adept Cosmetics, and this is their Simplicity Cream Blush, which is giving apparently a matte finish, and based upon the shades on the face, which I do appreciate the fact that they've actually not just swatched it out on the arm, but they've shown it on the face. I really appreciate that. It does seem to have a matte finish. They're €25.95 for each shade. There's 10 shades. You can also get the compact itself if you're interested. I believe that's like a tenner or something like that. It's clean, it's vegan, it's talc, and it's fragrance free. And there's apparently a free P6 angled cream blush brush with your Simplicity blush purchase from April 25th through to May 4th, but it's only for US customers. The brushes are made in Japan, which is quite cool. Now, they did come out with their brushes recently, which I was like, ooh, quite interesting. I like the shades of these. Do I love all of them? No, I feel some of these look a little bit similar to each other when you see them on, and there's some shades that are a little bit better than others. Let's maybe rush through a few of these. Peachy Keen, that is beautiful. That is a very neutral sort of a blush, and I don't see many of these on the market. I think it's quite funny that it's called Peachy Keen when it isn't quite as peach as you might expect. I think it's beautiful. I'm particularly obviously looking at the fairer model because that's what I would be looking at myself, but it seems quite nice on all of the models, and it looks like it's one of those very blendable shades. Now, I find it interesting that they're saying that it's matte, because I don't feel like that one in particular looks very matte. Or maybe matte doesn't mean matte anymore. I don't know. The shade Sunset Glow looks a little bit more matte, and again they're kind of showing off how buildable it is. Now personally I wouldn't wear that shade to that intensity, but they are showing off just the extent to which it is building up on a deeper skin tone, which I think is really amazing. I just think it's hard to say that a cream product is necessarily matte. It's very difficult to get a cream product to be matte, is my general experience. There's more of a dewiness there, to my opinion. I feel it's also very similar to the shade Flushed Fantasy, particularly when you see it on the deeper model. It does seem to disperse a little bit better on the fairer model than the previous one. I just don't think that maybe both shades were necessary. Might just be me. The shade Blush Blossom is obviously a shade that I quite like. It's something that would fit quite nicely for my personal skin tone. They've really built it up on the medium skin tone and quite a bit on the deeper skin tone. And again, I just don't think it's necessarily matte. The shade Prima Donna again feels like it's kind of similar to two other red toned shades, so maybe they didn't 100% need that. Then the shade Universal Flush, I do actually think that's quite interesting because that's a very deep wine sort of a shade, and that looks properly like a flush. I'd personally be very intimidated by that because I don't think it would work with my skin tone, but it looks quite nice on the deeper skin tone, which is fabulous. Then the shade Nude, that's another very nice nude shade. I like that. That's probably a little bit more nude than the Peachy Keen one, and you know what? I like it. I'm like, let's do this. Now this one I'm quite intrigued by. This is Violet Bloom, and one of the things that I like about purple blushes is that it looks so beautiful on the deeper skin tone, but what I have noticed is that a lot of purple blushes have been coming out lately that have a lot of white in them, which makes it then accessible for people like me who are very, very pale, but it excludes the people for whom purple blush, let's be real, looks the best on. They're not friendly for those who are of a deeper skin tone. This is much more suited for deeper skin tones, but again, you can see it can also work for those of us who are a little bit more fair. So for that, I'm kind of like, you know what? I like that. I'm here for that. The shade Mauve is really pretty. I really like that. It looks really greyish toned in the palette or in the pan. Love that. I'm not so sure about it on the medium skin tone or the deeper skin tone. It pulls a little bit ashy. However, very much appreciate the fact that they're showing that, so again, people can make some informed decisions. And the very last shade is Pink Flush, and again, that's my kind of shade from my skin tone. There's a lot of white in that, which I mean you kind of need for people who are fair like myself, but again, I feel like it doesn't hit as well on the deeper skin tone, but again, they're showing that, so you know what, there you go. It's €25.95 per shade, which is kind of like, okay, that's grand. It's expensive, but it's not the most expensive cream blush that I've come across either. And like a lot of their stuff now is like recyclable, reusable, etc. I like a lot of Adept stuff, so I'm not going to whinge about that. Again, another, I believe, American brand. I could be wrong. I don't know. I bought stuff from them in the past, Lord knows, but I've never paid attention to it. So I'm kind of like, oh God. But I know I can get them on things like Monolith, etc., which makes it a little bit easier. But still, the tariff will be calculated on the basis of that. Sorry, I talk a lot about tariffs because that's just our lives now. Oh God. Maybe there's an alternative universe where things worked out and everyone isn't hateful and sad and depressed. I want to be in that universe. This one, not so much, but you know what? I feel like this is really pretty, and I'm gonna say it. I feel the fact that there is a deep, dark, proper purple is lovely. So there's not many brands that do that. Javon, I haven't even pronounced it properly. I've like made him French. Javon Ford does a fabulous purple, sort of a cream blush. It's more like a tinty type thing. And there's minimal ingredients in that. He's a chemist, etc. And that's one of the few ones that I can think of that goes to that really nice deep purple. That looks nice on a deep skin tone. But you know what? I'm gonna give Adept their flowers for this. I think it's done really, really well. I don't need it. I don't. There's a lot of blushes coming out these days, but I definitely don't need it, and that's fine. It's better for my bank balance if I just give it a miss. We then have Question Beauty, and this is their Chapter 1 Legend of Land and Sea palette, which is retailing for €61.95. So inside this palette, you'll find 10 ultra pigmented shades, including 5 mesmerizing metallic and multichrome pressed pigments that shift and shimmer like sunlight on the ocean. Now, this is obviously verbatim from their website. The packaging is quite interesting because the lid has this beautiful illustration that's based on a painting by a New Zealand artist, captures the meeting of land and sea in breathtaking detail. Now you can twist the lid off. It's fully removable, so it doubles as a sort of a mixing palette if that's what you're interested in. Now I quite like that sort of thing. I've talked about this before, of like taking my mattes etc and mixing them together, but you can use the lid for that. But it's also just a really pretty art piece which is nice in and of itself. So whether you're layering pigments or blending custom shades, it's designed to make artistry effortless, and you get 10 grams of product in that. Now it is more pricey, it's €61.95, but you know what? I really, really, really like the colour story on this. Are you surprised? There's greens and there's purples, so of course I'm sitting here being like, I like the candy candy. There's just certain things that you can always count on, and that's it. I saw that over on That's So Taupe, by the way, on their Instagram, and I rushed over to the website, and there it was in all of its glory. And I do think that the packaging is stunning. It's so pretty. I love that you can actually see the shadows through the lid. I know that's so silly, but it's, you know what, I like it. I think it's really, really pretty. Do I think it necessarily warrants a €61.95 kind of price tag? I'm not so sure. I'm also a little bit worried about a lid like that, in that how travel friendly it is. I don't know why I always bring that up as if I'm traveling all over the place, although I did recently, but didn't bring makeup with me because I was like, I am not doing that. But it is something I think about of, is that going to get knocked off, you know? Or, I mean, to be fair, I could just take an elastic band and secure it, so it's not that big of an issue. The sort of metallic-y multi-chrome shades I think are really beautiful, but there's only 4 of them and the rest are mattes. So I'm not sure if necessarily that €62 is 100% warranted. And when I look at those shades, there's 3 sort of multi-chromes and then 1 metallic. Those multi-chromes, I probably have those across brands like Gloss Gods in particular. I can think of a few shades across palettes, across several brands that I'm like, I probably don't need that. Like I'm thinking of even a couple of C Beauty brands. Like it looks absolutely gorgeous, and I love that sort of colour story, and even that shade Lost Relic is gorgeous. Very, very pretty, and I love that there's almost 2 colour stories in there of like the purple and the green, and then you could put them together. But I know, oh actually there's 5 sort of multi-chromes, but it didn't look like it in the palette. Well, that just shows I don't know what it is that I'm talking about. Which one? God, that's very deceptive. So although, I don't know. Am I talking myself into something that I don't necessarily need? I think I am. I think it's very, very pretty, but if I look at stuff that I own, realistically, I probably have stuff like this already. It's gorgeous though. And I do feel like there's something that's unique enough there that kind of warrants the fact that it's out there, you know? Like, yeah, we've seen colour stories like this, but I think even the artistry of the lid, etc., which I know other people don't necessarily care about that, but you know, some people really appreciate that like level of artistry, that you can look at it and you can feel that there's this inspiration there. Like, I think that's beautiful. I think that's gorgeous. And I think it's really just a lot of artistry in there that's quite inspiring. I don't personally need it because I have a lot of stuff in there, but I think there's enough really pretty things in there that I'm like, yeah, this brand is now on my radar, and I'm very annoyed about that. I wish that it wasn't, because it looks like it's pricey enough, but it is pretty. The kind of lid removing in that way reminds me of the old school Inglot. I'm again showing my age, but do you remember the Inglot palettes, and they kind of slide like that? It reminds me a little bit of that, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of nice to see things cycling back like that. And speaking of cycling back into the past, this is from Kevyn Aucoin. Oh, sometimes I think about what life would have been like if he hadn't passed away at such a young age, but unfortunately he did, and this is the world that we live in now. This is the In Perspective eyeliner pencil, and there's 6 shades, and they're available now, and they are $33. So they come in the kind of shades that you would expect, you know, the black and the brown and the white, but then there's kind of 3 slightly out there shades of the purple, the blue and the gold. It's a gel formulation. You can obviously use it as an eyeliner, but you can also use it as a cream eyeshadow, which they've done in a couple of the pictures online. It's long lasting. It doesn't smudge after drying. It's oil proof and waterproof, which does make you kind of go, how will I remove this? Look, that's future problems. It glides effortlessly and smoothly adheres to the skin. It's highly pigmented with vivid colours. It's a dual-ended mechanical pencil with sharpener attached. Oh, I like that. I like that. And it's non-irritating to eyelids and waterline, and it's a 3.5mm pencil. Right. I actually like some of these, and some of these were quite deceptive. I didn't look at this initially and kind of go, oh my god, I totally want every single one. But it was when I saw them on the eyes that I was like, okay, you know what? I see the vision. I get where we're going. The black one, it's pretty par for the course. It's grand. Like $33, would I necessarily pay that for a black eyeliner? No. I have a lot of eyeliners, I will say that. I do have like a bit of an issue when it comes to eyeliners. But you know what? For an established brand like Kevyn Aucoin, I don't think it's necessarily a bad one. The brown, that's again another one. It's fine. I wouldn't run off and get it, but I can see people getting a lot of use out of that, and I like a gel eyeliner myself. This is the one that I really like. It's the navy blue one. Ooh, just smudging that out. There's something about that just looks so beautiful to me. I do feel like they were really smart in putting that onto a brown eye. Like, brown and blue are just gorgeous. Like, that's not gonna look that nice on my eye. I know that. I have grey blue eyes, so a navy blue isn't gonna look that impressive on it. But that is really, really pretty. The purple, I was kind of surprised by, because I more kind of go to like those aubergine purples, which are very hard to find. But I like the kind of lilac-y shade of that. It's quite unusual. There's something a little bit early 2000s, late 90s about this that I really appreciate, and I like the look of that. It's quite nice. The gold, I mean, it's grand. Although I don't think I've ever really seen a gold that I kind of go, oh my god, I love the look of that. There's been, like, I have a few gold eyeliners because I just think they're handy to have, because apparently I live in fear that I might come to a point where I might need things. I don't know what sort of scenarios I'm getting myself ready for, but there you go. The white looks really impressive as well. Like, that's really, really buildable. The fact that they've put it onto the skin in that way. So I suspect, like, even on the waterline, it would look super, super impressive. Yeah, you know, like, I don't necessarily need these. I like them. If they were maybe like €5 off, I'd get this. There's just part of me that always gets a little bit sad anytime I see something from Kevyn Aucoin, and I'm like, oh, he's not here anymore, and it's so sad. And again, I do wonder, like, what would makeup be like if he was still around, because he was such an absolute icon when it came to the industry. And yeah, it's really interesting. A good eyeliner, I don't hate it. I'd love to see what the story is, what the reviews are, but for the moment it just isn't for me, and that's grand. Then we have Morphe, which honestly I'm kind of surprised they're still going after everything that has happened. And by the way, they're now being stocked in Sephora US again, which is wild. So they're coming back. This is their Sudden Heat Creamy Bronzer Stick, and it looks like at least they're actually bronzers. It's over on Ulta at the moment. They haven't actually dropped. It's sort of a sneak peek thing. They're $15. There's antioxidant rich vitamin E and there's jojoba oil in there. They claim that it's going to give you a soft matte medium buildable finish, an effortless luxe gliding application, and a long lasting formula, which is grand. 5 shades. It does look like it goes to a decent level of depth, which I don't hate, and it looks like it goes relatively light, and for a cream product I don't hate that. I do feel like they're missing out on a couple of shades probably in between. It's grand. It's grand. Let's go in at it shade by shade. The shade Flicker, which is the lightest one, I actually don't think I could get away with that. I think that's probably a little bit too dark, and like when it's on a redhead like that, maybe it's just me, but I like to go a little bit more subtle with the old bronzer, because I mean this face has never really seen sun. I lie, it has seen sun, most recently when I was in Belgium, but like I don't use a lot of bronzer because I feel like it looks a bit alien on me. I go for the lightest bronzer, and I feel like that is not quite light enough. Then the next shade, Ignite, I mean, she looks beautiful. I can't tell much of a difference between the before and the after. I mean, a little bit, which is kind of like what you'd want in a bronzer, really. You don't want to see like a massive like, oh my god, it's so obvious. So I think that one works pretty well. Then the shade Spark, again, that looks pretty decent. I feel like they're missing a couple of shades in between because there's not massive jump ups in terms of the depth of skin tones. The shade Sizzle, I mean, yeah, it looks grand. It looks very radiant, which I personally quite like in a bronzer. I like cream products. I already have enough cream products of bronzers. Vive is my favorite. And then the shade Smolder, which is the darkest one, and that does look like it goes to a decent level of depth, but without it being contour. So yeah, it looks like they actually got the warmth in there. It's grand. And that's kind of where I'm falling with this. Look, I've said this before, like it's helpful to have affordable brands. And I'm not going to knock anyone for buying things from brands that they like, they enjoy, etc. Why? Because it's none of my business what other people do. It just isn't. I have to keep according to what I think is right. And just the whole thing with Morphe and the way they treated their employees, not just the first time round, but the second time round of just shutting stores. And now, oh, they're back to it. They're back selling in Sephora US, and it's like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they can ever really overcome that in my mind. Maybe they have for you, and that if they have, that's totally fine. But yeah, I just don't feel comfortable supporting them, you know? The thing is, like, the stuff that I gotten from them maybe a year ago or so, something like that, I got some 9 pan palettes, and you know what? They were really good. Fantastic quality. Really, really great. So I'm kind of like, oh, it sucks because the quality is really, really good. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I personally just don't feel comfortable purchasing for them for me, just because of the way they treated their employees. But you know, like I said, you do you. It's literally none of my business. We then have Ladybug Glow, which is a small little indie brand, and they have 2 little blush and highlighter cream duos, which are adorable. There's the shade Everything Peachy, which is their #1 shade, and the #2 is the Glowbug Doll Pink Blush. And they're €17.49 each, at least based upon the website. It was like to Ireland, but then it was like, if you want to ship to Ireland, then it's €19.50. We're on Makeup on Your Radar. They had the information on this, but apparently there's some like bundles. I couldn't see any on the shop, but there you go. And orders over $35 are ship free. So if you're in the US, it'll work out well for you. I think this is actually really lovely. Do you know what? And I'm going to say this right now. Do you know what it reminds me of? Melt Cosmetics. It reminds me of some of their little blush highlighter duos. And you know what? For the price, I think this is pretty good. You know, €17.49, just under €20, you know, with whatever. I think this is really pretty. I feel like it's duping, not duping, but it's similar to some higher brands that could, you know, deal with maybe bringing the prices down. It's so difficult for indie brands to compete because their overheads are always going to be higher. They can't bulk buy things in the same way. So the fact that they've kept it down to this price, I think, is worth talking about. I'm going to talk about the peachy one first. Oh, that is so beautiful. That is really pretty. I'm going to say what I always say about these things. Like, yes, I appreciate the fact that they've swatched it on the arm, but I really want to see it on the face. Is that stupid? I want to see how much this blends out. Like that kind of gorgeous, I don't really feel like it's a peach color, but that reddishy pink, whatever it is, that blush. I want to see, can you tap that out, or is it going to look like somebody slapped me in the face? That highlighter, I want to see, is it going to leave a cast? Like, it looks beautiful. Then the pink one, that's really interesting. I'd love to see that on a diversity of different skin tones, because like I feel like we could see some differences there. And again, could I sheer it out? Would it work on my skin tone? Would it work on a deeper skin tone? Because I suspect there isn't a lot of white in that pink, and I think you could get away with like medium skin tones. I'm not so sure about dark skin tones, but definitely medium skin tones could get away with that. And then with that highlighter, that's beautiful. I want to see that again. Like, is that going to give like a stripe, or could I like kind of shimmy that out? I don't know what it is that I'm trying to say. I think that's really nice. Like, it's not bad at all. The price tag is good. It's nice to see the brand going beyond eyeshadow palettes. They've kind of been slogging away at this for the last, I want to say 2 to 3 years, something like that. So well done them. Well done them. I think it looks really, really nice. We then have Haus Labs, and this is their Colour Fuse Glassy Blush Balm Stick. And they have a few of these already, but this is a shade extension, so they have 4 new shades. This is their spiced up neutrals, and I've been saying we don't have a lot of neutrals, and then this week we have a lot of neutrals, and you know what? I am fine with that. This is arriving April 29th. They're going to be $34 each, because of course they are. Haus Labs is like frighteningly expensive. It's a long-lasting multi-use lip and cheek balm that glides on buildable glassy colour in an easy to use cream stick. It has fermented arnica, because they love putting fermented arnica into everything, and goji berry complex. Now, they also said that they did a third-party consumer perception study, which, you know my feelings on perception. Perception can be manipulated very, very easily based upon, like, ask Elizabeth Loftus. She did a whole thing about like eyewitness testimony, and even like the verbs that you use will impact how people answer. Like, okay, I'm just going to tell you about an Elizabeth Loftus study. I'm sorry, this is it. Anyways, she had like a bunch of participants watch a car crash, and she asked them a couple of questions of like, at what speed did the car crash? At what speed did the car collide? At what speed did the car smash into the other? And she found that using those words impacted how people perceived it. So when you said collided, they said that it was like a shorter or a slower speed. When you said crashed or smashed, it was generally a higher speed, which was really interesting. So that's why I'm saying perception. I don't really trust it as a measure. It's not very objective. It's incredibly subjective based upon what sort of questions. So let's take that with a grain of salt. And they only had 35 panelists. That's a bit shit. Ages 18 to 45. Now, in my opinion, you need to have a much greater breadth of participants in there and a much greater age range. Like, come on now, 45. For a cream product, I want to be seeing this on people up to 90, 100, whoever you can get them in there, you know? Like, let us think of the general diversity of people who like to wear these things. They said that 97% agree it's easy to control the application and colour intensity, and 94% agree it provides sheer medium buildable coverage, and 94% agree it feels weightless on skin all day. Which is grand. Like, that's kind of, I mean, I'm going to say it. That's the minimum that I would expect from a cream product, particularly if I'm spending that amount of money on it. Shade range is fine. It's quite nice. I feel like they haven't put that much into the packaging. Like, it's not like, woo, out there. It's grand. It looks pretty. Gonna go into each shade. Glassy cinnamon. It does look like they're saying glassy. There's that beautiful glassy, dewy sort of a look. And I've noticed this is kind of coming out a little bit more, that whole conservative look. Now, that does occur when there's more of a rise of conservative values, etc., that people dial their makeup back, and it kind of makes me a little bit sad because I'm a colourful goose. because that's what I am. So I'm like, oh, this is a little bit like, I like that there are options there, but bit sad. But in saying that, they also have their colourful options as well. But I think it's interesting that we're seeing a lot more kind of dialed back looks these days. The shade Glassy Ginger, that looks beautiful as well. I don't know if they necessarily needed that along with Glassy Cinnamon, because they look kind of similar on the face, although mind you, in the tube they look very different. So who am I to say? Glassy Cayenne, I mean, that looks gorgeous. And again, you can see it on the deeper skinned model that it does look like it's quite buildable, but without it being like a stripe of colour either. And then there's Glassy Clove. Yeah, I mean, they look really, I wouldn't have thought that shade would have worked on the lighter skinned model, but apparently it does. I don't hate the look of these. I don't. I think they look beautiful. I did buy some Haus Lab stuff recently in the Sephora sale. Don't talk to me, right? I didn't lose my mind. I only I only bought 3 things in the Sephora sale, which, well done me. I feel I did well. It was 2 Haus Labs things and a Valentino foundation. So, yeah. So I'm like, no. Everything is fine. It's grand. I'm not going to go and get this. I don't need it. I like that we're getting more neutral options, but yeah, it just isn't for me. And I think at that price tag, I can't quite, justify it. Like, part of why I got the Haus Lab stuff in the sale was because I got 25% off. And it was stuff I had wanted to get. It was like a highlighter, and then there was the highlighter balm thing, because I do like a highlighter balm thing. So I was like, okay, when it's 25% off, I can justify this now. And I did, and I went off and I did it, and it was great, and I really enjoyed myself. But for this, I just don't think I could. And that's all right. The very last thing that we're talking about is sort of a sneak peek that just got released today. This is Fantasy Cosmetica, and all they've said is a ranger has joined your party, because obviously their stuff is all very based around like games and like role play, etc. Like not like naughty role play, but like yay role play. You know, like Dungeons and Dragons type of things. They say embrace your woodland spirit with this collection of 4 nail polishes, a perfume and a palette. More details to come. It's launching April 30th at 11 AM CST. So at the moment, all I have kind of info on, or major info on, is the eyeshadow palette, because I have like swatches etc of that, and it reminds me a little bit of the Bella Beauté bar palette that I was talking about last week, in that we have some greens and then there's the red, and obviously it's the red that's kind of making me go not so much, although that's more of like a brick toned, like a reddy brick toned brown, so it's not exactly a red. I like this. I think it looks really pretty. I like the palette. I don't know much about the nail polishes and the perfume. They haven't kind of given a lot of detail on that, so it's just the eyeshadow palette that I'm talking about. I'm kind of surprised that it swatches the way that it does, because when you look at it in the palette, it looks like those kind of greens are more blue toned, so I'm kind of surprised that it swatches in the way that it does. So kind of helpful that they've done that, although on the paler skin tone it does look like it's kind of more piney bluey, but then on the deeper skin tone it looks more like warm green, which obviously it just shows the importance of undertones in here. I'm interested in this. Now, I haven't tried anything from Fantasy Cosmetica. I had ordered from them. Unfortunately, the package got lost, but they were fantastic with their customer service. They gave me a refund. My lovely friend, Manuela, who is on makeup therapy, to the best of my knowledge, she used a Fantasy Cosmetica palette. I could be wrong, but I'm 99% certain I saw her use one. And as per usual, she did something beautiful with it, and she looked gorgeous, as she always does. And I know she, if I remember correctly, she liked the quality of them. I could be wrong. But I know that she liked that. So I'm kind of like, oh, that's nice. Now, it isn't 100% my colour story, so for that reason, I'm not going to get it. I've seen other things that they've done that I like a little bit more. But you know what? I don't think it's a bad one. And I feel like they generally keep their prices down pretty well. So it's not a bad one. But again, they're in the US. Same thing applies. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. It was a little bit quieter this week. We have that. Thankfully, it feels like makeup isn't launching as much stuff, which it's terrible for my channel, you know, because I need to be talking about new stuff. But I actually think it's healthy for us to have a little bit of a dip so that we're better able to critically analyze and evaluate whether or not we need something. And that actually leads me on to my favorite comment from last week, which was Anissa, who said, the Bella Beauté bar palette is perfect for me. Stop trying to de-influence me. That is nonsense. I do try. I'd like, part of it is me trying to de-influence myself, but I'm also hoping that we can create a culture over here where we can like support ourselves to like make better decisions. And like, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic to get excited about a brand and about a launch and being like, oh my god, I really want it, and that's fine. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum or anything like that, but I also think it's really helpful for us to sit down and kind of be like, do we necessarily need these things? Do you know? Like, because I know a lot of you guys are doing no buys and low buys, etc. And I want to try and help support you in that. I'm not doing that myself because I'm still like a ridiculous consumer, but I am trying to pull myself back to at least some degree, because I mean, it's crazy right now. The economy is nuts. Everything is in free fall. So I think it's helpful for us to maybe just step back and kind of go, okay, maybe we don't need it. Said the person who puts affiliate links in the description box. But like, you know, this isn't my job. I do this for fun. So like, you know, I think it's helpful for us to just kind of critique these things. But again, in saying that, if you're excited about something and you want to get the whole thing, mwah, you go and do that, as long as it's not putting you in any sort of financial harm. But it's none of my business. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I haven't filmed a Swatching Sundays yet, but I have one in mind. Hopefully I'll manage to do it. I'll be honest with you lads, I've just been super tired. I think burnt out because I just overextended myself. So I've been disassociating for many days, just staring at a wall. So I do need to do things, but I probably won't do things, but hopefully I will. I have a to-do list as long as my arm. But anyways, my gorgeous friends, if I do a Swatching Sunday, you'll see something tomorrow. And if I don't, well, it's not the worst thing that's happened to us, and it'll be fine. But my gorgeous friends, thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it's polite. And do please share, because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case, just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of the video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.